Hi, this is Moses Dabo. You can better refer to me as Mogi Yogi Bleeder Phenomenon. Wherever, however, anywhere, and anytime. Today I'll be teaching you HTML, CSS. I should be teaching you HTML, CSS, and JS. And in the future, PHP. But for today's video, we will stick with just HTML and CSS. Now, a lot of time people will start to talk about HTML, CSS, and JS. And we will try to find a way to make you understand everything about it. But that's not my style. As we continue the video, I'll try my best to help you out with the necessary understanding when it comes to the theoretical aspect. But I am a practical guy, so please bear with me as we dive into this video. Well, I will give you some brush off and just an introductory hint of what they actually mean. Probably some acronyms and obvious clarifications, right? So without wasting any time, let's jump into this thing and get our hands dirty. First and foremost, what are our requirements? We need somewhere to write our code. And this place to write code is called text editor. Remember the name first. Whenever you want to write any code, you write it in a text editor. It's obvious whether it is a programming language or markup language. Now, so what is our first concern here? We need a text editor. But before using a text editor, there are so many text editors out there. We have one that is already available to us as long as we have a Windows PC or even MacBook. Now I'm going to show you that real quick. But let me try to display my desktop contents. I don't know for what reason I hate them. Here they are. Now let me show you what is a text editor. Anything that you can write text in is considered text editor. But there are certain languages that you can write in any text editor, but to run those programs, since they are programming languages, you need to convert them into another type of text editor, coding styles. But since we are dealing with HTML, we are not getting too messy, especially at this point. We will stick around with this simple text editor that you can write anything into, ordinary text. Now, let's open it up and oops, I think I should get rid of this one and we will start at first. So let's try to rename this happy text. Okay? Don't go anywhere further. Please stick around here. Now we got this text editor. We got this text editor called happy text txt. Now open it up. Surprisingly, we are going to write our HTML code right in here. This is a text editor. Let me show you why. This is a text inside this text editor. Now you can see. So this is the text, and To show you that it is the editor, we are going to edit this text. Let's start with something like editor. Is this editing? Of course it is, because we just changed this thing to bold, as you can see. Now, how about this one? Inside, let's make it italic. You see here, this thing is like kind of sliding on the side, like sliding one side. This is what we call editing. So anywhere you edit text is considered as an editor. So since we are editing text here or anywhere else we happen to edit text, sorry about this, we should consider that place as a text editor. There's no other simple way to say this. Just keep that in mind. And that's the reason why this is considered a text editor. I think it's okay now because the more I keep repeating nonsense over and over, at some point I will just make mistake. All right, because this is the editor, we are going to write our HTML code here. That is why HTML is not some kind of selfish language. You can write it almost anywhere, but to get it running the way you want it to, there are things to consider. And for that reason, this editor is good enough to make that things happen. Okay? All right, now let's delete this. And as the name suggests, HTML. It is a markup language. That's number one you need to understand. And this is hypertext. These texts are not ordinary texts, like ordinary text as we know. They are considered hypertext. Hypertext. They are special kind of text that you can customize them, you can edit them, you can make them behave like functions because you can treat them like objects and stuff like that. For that reason, they are not ordinary. All right. Now, in order to do all these things that I'm talking about, you need some library. All these functions that allow the text to achieve this kind of behavior or activities and customizations, you need to call the function that give you the permission to achieve these things you want to achieve using um, with your text. So how to do that? In HTML, everything, almost everything we do, we use tags. Tags are often mentioned between some kind of symbols that we consider greater than and less than, greater than and less than. So in between here, this is where most of the things we want to show up in the browser should be. But some of these tags have both opening and closing. Now to recognize which one is closing is the one I have this slash. So right now we got a complete tag with opening and closing. Even though we gonna be using a lot of these, we will be using a lot of this. Let me try to put it here like repeatedly. But keep in mind, few tags don't have closing. They are just opening and closing at once. And then what happened is that instead of having this one, it's gonna be like this. So whatever you want to put will be right in here. So this one will become the opening and this will become the closing, right? And how it works, like how you will do it in PHP, we are not doing PHP right now, but I just want to give you the concept of how it works. If it is PHP, you have opening and closing tag. But what do? You use question mark and question mark. This is only this is the only way you can tell if it is PHP. Then you use PHP. And inside here is where you're gonna write your code. Like if you want to print something, you use and you can print it. Whatever you want to display should be here. And if it is something that have to do with variables, you use the dollar sign. Okay, so again, to tell you that it also use tags. Since we are not using PHP, let's proceed with our HTML concept. That was just an overview. So when we are dealing with HTML, let's leave these tags and maybe create one more. Since we are dealing with HTML, we first have to call the library that allow us to do whatever we want to do according to the markup structure and function that it allows. All right? And how do we do that? We call it document. Meanwhile, everything that have to do with website is collection of documents. So what make documents? Separate files. If you put files together, you get documents. And what are these files? It could be text. It could be um, markup language text, regular text, PDF. It could be images like PNG, JPEGs. It could be uh, uh, graphic, any kind of graphic thing like video or so, audio, any kind of media. It could be what else? What else? It could be another type of uh, document called CSS, which is meant for styling the website, and JS, which will add function to the website, making the website interactive and dynamic. So all these files are collectively stored or placed into a folder or multiple folders, and all these folders will be into a single folder, but there will be one file that the browser is going to recognize as entry point, and that file will be named indexed. With that file, every other document will get anchored to it so that they can be accessible or viewed to anyone using a browser that has uh, access to the link of that website. Right now, if you want to use so many documents and using them as HTML, then you need to mention it. That's how it is. Since we need to mention it, open and close. Now remove this and always try to start with capital letter. Remember, for PHP we use this and we use PHP, didn't we? And we use this. But for HTML, instead of question marks, we use this one. I guess you already know this thing. I'm not too good at English, trust me, but at least try to give me C. Don't give me D or F. All right. Now, after doing this, you need to mention doc type. What that means? Document type. Which type of document? HTML document. Simple as it is. So DOC as in document. Let's capitalize everything to show some professionalism. That is doc type. You are now telling the browser that everything here is a doc type, not some kind of regular text document. All right. Then the browser understands that this is a complete program, and this program is written using a markup language, which is HTML, because you explicitly mention it here. HTML. This is what it is. This is the first thing you want to write. And the very last thing you want to write is, let's use this, HTML. This is the very last thing. But since we are learning, let me have the opportunity to make errors so that you can understand why you shouldn't do it when you are writing a real program. This is the wrong way to do it. Don't do it like this, otherwise, it is not going to be cool. Sometimes it might run and you might see the result, but that's not what it should be. Instead, you should put it right here. Remember, this slash is at the beginning of this thing, or whatever tag element you want to use. Just remember, when you are closing the tag, this slash is right at the beginning. Now, the next thing we want to get is we need to tell the browser that this document is pure English. Where in the future for advanced programming, we will have language options, and this is where it can be mentioned. But for today's video, since we are not doing much, we are just talking about the basics. Okay, so this is a web document right now. It's kind of funny to say. Let's say you want to print something in the browser right now at this moment, whatever you want to print. But before we print anything else, let's start with hello world. We are trying to greet the world. Hello world. This is our first uh, HTML code. This is our first HTML code. All right. Now we are saying this and we want to see it in a browser. Remember, everything we have here, the only thing that is going to be shown is this one, because these are tags. These are tags. All right. Now let's get rid of them. This one is not going to show. This one is not going to show. But only this. Okay. But before we show anything, this is just a text document. Now let's look at it. Happy.txt. Instead, we need to have HTML document like this one. This is a HTML document. This is a HTML document. So we need to convert this thing to look just like this. But what will happen is that instead of this kind of white stuff, it's going to look exactly like this browser icon. And the reason why it's going to look like this because my default browser is Edge, Microsoft Edge. If yours is not Microsoft Edge, whatever it is, I'm sorry for that annoying noise. It's the environment that I live. If yours is not Microsoft Edge, whatever browser you use will show up. If you are using Chrome or you are using Firefox, remember you will see that logo instead of this. So don't get confused when you see that happening. All right, now let's try to create our document or file that look just like this. How do we do that? Remember, we already have the coordinate, but nothing's going to happen if we don't turn this document to look something like this or similar, right? Now, let's keep this aside and duplicate this. Control C and Control V. Now we have two, and this is what we're going to change because this is the copy. The reason is we want to write it in a normal text and then write that same thing in our browser text document. Then that will make sense. So let's go ahead and change this one name. You can press F2 or you right click and rename. Let's keep the same name, but we will just be changing the extension. We have happy HTML. Now double click. You can press yes or you just double click at once, then it's going to change. Now you see we have these two documents, these two files. All right, but this one cannot browse the internet. This one cannot take you to the internet, but this one will take you to the internet because it is a HTML file document. That is its function. So if you click this, it opens this. Nothing happens. But whatever this one, if you click this, we are going to jump straight to the internet and we will be seeing this thing. Now let's test it out. Click, boom. We are here, but we aren't seeing anything. What is the problem? Now let's try to figure out the problem and see. What happened is that this thing doesn't have any text in it at all. I don't know why. Sometimes it happens like that. So that's the reason why I duplicated it. Now let me prove to you that there is nothing in here. But before proving to you, let's copy this whole thing and we will be pasting it there so that we will see this thing in our browser on the internet, right? Now let's open it up and open with Notepad because we want to see. Here we are. How do we know that it's empty? You can see here happy and you see this T, meaning .txt. So this is where the text is written. But here you see this one say happy.html. If you click on it, it's empty. That is the reason why we are not seeing anything here. It happens a lot of times, so just keep in mind once you do it this way, like how I did, you will have to open it with Notepad, like I did, and then paste the code here again. Once you're done, you you click here and save it. Not save as, just save it because you've already created the name for it. It's already having the unique name. Then, if we then go back to that website and refresh, we now see our code. Congratulations, you just written your first program. Thank you so much. Okay, so this is how we can get stuff displayed on the internet. This whole play now is our browser internet space. You want to know that if you right click, you see inspect, you see this is what we have. This is how you can tell if it is live on the internet. But this time it is only visible to you. In future video, we will understand how to make it visible to anyone, any part of this globe, any part of the world. All right. Now, let's look at something here very closely. If you look here closely, you're gonna see something that we don't have in our text document. Here you see there is something called body, and there is body here. Let's see in our text document what do we have there. Here we don't have body, and that is the strict rule for HTML. You need to make this display into a body because HTML help a lot of time people do wrong thing, but they still see the result. It doesn't mean that what you did was correct because this code is not correct. If you want to display something, it should be inside the body tag. But we don't have body tag here. And this is how the body tag looks. So let's fix that. Now close this. The body tag is just like this one, body and body. This is the opening and this is the closing. So it is between here that we should write every single thing we want to show up on the web page. So we cut this and put it inside of this body. Now this is the right way to do it. If we save this, every time you do any modification or editing inside your editor, since this is the editor, we edit all the time. You see, we just edited something. Here we added body. If you add something or remove something, that is editing. So you have to save it every time you do that. Then go back to the browser or just minimize this window and double click on your stuff again. Now we have it correct. It still displays the same thing, but at least we are not just seeing body here. We actually wrote it. Oftentimes, HTML will do some fixes that you should do, right? And that is why it is good. So always understand what you are doing and doing it right. It's good. Now let's close this dev too. So let's say we want to modify this text. We are continuing editing. That is the reason why we are using text editor. So what do we want to do in this case? Let's come to our text document. You see here, and this whole thing, everything here is bold, right? Let's change that and make only this bold. I think you can see there is some kind of difference. And let's make all these italic. So you can do this exact thing in HTML. You can make your text behave or look the way you want to. But you have to understand how to do it. You can even make the sizes the way you want it. Like how this thing look like. Big, little bit big, and these kind of sizes as it goes to the very last bottom. So you see here 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But in HTML, it is more likely not to reach 7, right? There are so many updates every time. I'm not updated to that. But as far as I'm concerned right now, we have 6. What that means, remember this is the text editor. We can make this whole sentence to be big here. And another one beneath it can be little bigger than this. Then the one beneath that will be little bigger than the previous one. All right, so let's see how it's gonna look like. Always use tags. All right. Now let's change that, and let's also change this. Since we talk about 6, let's copy this and paste it 6 times. How many we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Everything here will have H, but the numbers are going to make the difference. So let's put H, 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 and we add 1 here. Don't forget, this slash is always before this thing, like I told you in here. See it? All right. We learned how to do it right here and implement this in the browser to see how it's going to look like. Now you have H1. This is opening and closing. So let's keep going. This is H2. Okay. This is H3. So you can pause the video and complete the remaining up to 6. So we got 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. All right. So let's do it together. 4 and 4, 5 and 5 and 6. What are we going to put here? Instead of writing all this thing here, let's just put actual number. Let's put like 1. O-N-E, 1, right? And here, okay. Now, what is going to happen is that number 1 is the biggest text, number 2 is next to the biggest, 3 is next to this, 4 is next to this, and 6 is the smallest. All right. Now let's use this in the browser to see how it's gonna look like. Remember, we are putting it inside of the body tag, not here, not here. But find the body tag inside it, like so, and put it there. Now you save it. Every time you do something, you modify, you save. Now let's come to this page and refresh. Here we go. You can now see that we have this thing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Okay, so this is how you do it. But let's understand now how to give these things colors. Because right now we just have plain text and it's not even attractive. You need to make things attractive and make people uh, excited to read what they are saying, or else it's gonna look boring. And when something is it's boring, people don't want to set their eyes on it for even 1 minute. But when something is attractive, people will get their eyes on it for a long time. And while they are looking at it for a longer time, they'll be reading. Perhaps it is something you want to tell them in your interest. If they don't read it, how will they act? So, for that reason, we need to make it attractive. Now, let's try to color this. Remember, this is just minor modification we are doing. But real soon we will get to do some nice modification. All right, but let's just get around this thing. How we can do this thing uh, in the simplest way. So whenever you want to modify our text in HTML, there's another file or document type uh, that that actually works with HTML, but you need to include that document type tag specifically inside of this HTML document so that it can get anchored to this file and be able to use it in sync. But since we are not using that yet, there's still a workaround to achieve the same thing. All you need to do is you mention the same style word, something like this, style. If you write this, remember it is lowercase everything. It should be equals to what is the style you want. This can be to change to the color. It can be size as well. Even though we have all these sizes, but we can still add it up. We can make this size to be bigger than this. In fact, we will see that real soon. By default, if you just use these H things, H1, H2 up to 6, you get these sizes. But if for some reason you want to make this very bigger than even this H1, you can use styling for that. And that will give you uh, the you will have two things to do. You have the variable and the value. Right now, this is just a function for having the variable and a value for something, and that modification will be added to the particular text that this whole starting is going to be pasted into. For instance, if I complete this whole style stuff, I'm going to paste it in any of these tags, not between the tag, but within the tag, especially here, the opening tag, not the closing one. Remember that. So for this one, let's try to use color. For color, you just write color like that. And after that, you have to use this sign. And after that, you have to use this sign also. Then in between there, you put your color you want. And in advanced programming, we will have to understand color codes. We don't necessarily have to master them. You can just Google them and find the color you want to use. That is why programming is an intelligent act. You don't have to cram stuff in your head like you got so many important things to do. You can occupy your brain with things that really don't necessarily need to be there, occupying your brain. So we will have so many ways to find color codes. But for now, let's just try to use simple color just to understand what is going to happen. Uh, let's say we are using red here. Red. Okay? And the next one, we will be using blue, respect Liberia. And next, let's say green. Why we can use white? Because if we use white, you're not going to see it. The text and the background will be white. So let's use uh, green. All right. Now let's try it out. Our first, our first stuff. So we will just have to cut it. Sorry. Let's take it from here and put it into our text document where we will be getting it from one at a time and putting it in our project. Let's copy this, come to our project, then put it into this doc. What is going to happen is this text is going to get this color. So this is called attribute and this is called value. So the attribute is color and the value is red. So this value will be applied to this object. This thing here is considered as object. Okay? And let's get the other color. But anyway, let's see this first and know what we are doing. Always any single thing you do, save it. If this works, then we can proceed with the next ones. Voila! Here we are. Now we got red one. Red one. Okay? Now let's go. Let's go ahead and add the rest. So what do we have next? We have blue, blue, always inside the first tag, which is the opening tag. Here, blue, and let's try to get it on the same line. All right, sometimes they happen like that. Don't get confused. Just take your time and look it up and arrange it. Next, we have green. Just change this to green. And now let's save this and let's refresh. Here we are. In case we want to see, we want to actually make this white and this one blue, we have to do something else. We need to make this whole background to have different color. That's the only way the white is going to show up. That's the logic. And for that to happen, probably, let's try to change the color of this as well. Maybe we can make the background black. Other than that, if we make the background black right now, it means this one will not show unless we don't want it to show. Because if you have white black text on a black background, it's not going to show at all. And if you have white text on a white background, it's not going to show. So what do we do? Can we use brown background? I think so. Then we'll be able to see our white in case we want to change this to white. Let's try it out. To achieve that, we will put the style right inside the body here. Now, this thing is going to affect this whole space. This is the whole body of the website. So whatever we do there will affect this whole thing. And what we want to target in this place, we want the background. That is the reason why we are targeting the whole body. What is the color we say we want for the background? We say brown, right? And now if we save this and refresh, we have this white. Let us make some mistake to teach ourselves what's going on. For this example, we are using colors. But if you want this background, you change that color to background. Simple as it is. And that is what we didn't do. So let's go and fix it. Here we have color. It shouldn't be color. If you use color, it's going to target just the text, nothing else. But we don't want to target the text. We want this brown to target this background. So let's fix that. That is what we should be doing. Now save and run. Boom. Now you see how brown look like? Is this actually brown? It doesn't look like brown to me, but this is what the software is saying. This is brown. All right. Now we can change this color a little bit. So let's say we want to get another color design. Perhaps let's use this one. Okay, so let's use this one. Like what I told you, we'll be using color codes. This is just the beginning. Now this is the color code we want. Now if we save and go back to this browser, oops, let's just click it from here. Boom, you see? Now this one looks a little much better. Then if we use white here, now we can see it, right? So let's now go and change our stuff to white, like red, white, and blue. Okay, this blue should be down to 3. And here will be white. Save. Ta-da! Now we have the Liberian flag color. Okay, so this is it. This is how you can modify your text. You can change it however you want it. You can do so many things. You can change the fonts, style, and the size. Now, what I was talking about the size, let's try to make this bigger than everything here. Right now, it is so small and it is the very smallest. So let's change the color and make it so big, right? Yeah, it is 6. So in this case, background, we have now we have till now we have used two different attributes. We've used background and we've used colors. And each attribute have its values. There are different values. This is one value for this background. If you use another color, that is another value. Like this, red, it is another value. This is another value, and this is another value. But these are the same attributes here. But this is different attribute. For this one, we are going to use different attributes also. But this function will be the same, the style. So let's copy this whole line and bring it here. This is function, and this function do this execution, whatever that is inside this quotation. Right now, we need to change this attribute. This will make the third attribute we are using, and this is called size. So this attribute is a combined word, like font size, but there is no space. You have to do it like this, exactly as it is. And then this attribute cannot go with this value. So we need to add a value. Usually it is in like either pixels or RAM and EM, right? There are slight difference between REM and EM. And in advanced tutorial, I will try to explain how important and why they are important in certain cases or scenario. Based on certain size that you want specific size, you will have to tweak these things to get the actual value you want. Now for our case, if you try to use EM in this case, it's gonna give you bigger size real fast. Let's say for instance you use 2 EM and save and refresh. You can see that the size is almost like this. This is what I was saying. You can make the size even bigger than this one. So let's make this 8 em and see where we're headed. You see here, this is some of the difference. When you are using em, it is not just increasing the size of the text, it is increasing its surrounding, including creating space from the text to anything around it. All right. So when you are using em, you have to keep that in mind. How about if we try to use pixels? Let's say 200 px. If you save this, it is so big that it double the size. That is px. What about if we use our em? Again, let's say 3 or maybe 8 our em, and let's save this and refresh. You see here. So this is how it works. The smallest text can be bigger depending on what you want to achieve, simply by understanding what you're doing. Implementing this function with this attribute and whatever value you want to assign to this attribute. All right. So let's remove it and keep it as it is. Okay. Now we've learned how to color the text, how to increase the size, and how to color the background and stuff like that. Why are we using tags and why we should write everything into the body tag? These are uh, important things that we have learned today. Now let's go ahead and understand another thing. What is that another thing? That is basically every HTML project should have a specific language. We are not just practicing here for practice sake. We are practicing to become a full stack developer. And to achieve that, we need to understand the basic rules and all the necessary knowledge we need to acquire. Now, every website have some tag that we didn't mention here, including meta tags. So let's try to include few of them. And the very first one we should look at is the language. You see, some website has different language. Like in China, most of the websites have China. They are written. If you visit them, you start to read in Chinese, unless they choose to add English there. Since I'm an Englishman, and I hope you are English person. In case you're not, just for learning purpose, use English for now. When you master it, you can then change to French if you are a French person or whatever language you are good at. So for that, let's use this tag, which is a single tag, opening and closing, right? Honestly, this tag is actually coming to this because it have HTML. Once it have HTML, it also uses as closing. So let's get HTML here, and this HTML, uh, this is this is the document that we are using, and we are telling the browser that this document, which is the HTML, is pure whatever language we're going to put here. So we need to mention language, ang, in the short form for lang. It means language. Now we at this point, the the browser is listening now. Whatever you put here, the browser will understand that this is the language that this program is expected to be read in. So in our case, we use English. The short form is EN. If you put FRH or FRSH, I never used French before. Like seriously, I don't want to bore you with that. Since we are using English, let's stick with English. Then you have mentioned it clear that this is something all English. So this is important. It's not going to do anything to this project right now. It's not going to affect it anyway. So if you save it, you refresh, nothing happens. Nothing happens because it have no effect on it. And the next one is bunch of meta tags. But these ones, they are specifically mentioned in one big tag called the head. So we also have to open and open close this and say HEAD. Like we said, a head. HEAD. So now inside this head, let's back up and give some space so that it can be clear. Inside this head, we have bunch of tags also, and there are many. They can be up to 10 or more. But since we are not doing, I mean, live project for this tutorial, we will just stick with few just so that you can understand the reason and important why we need them and why we are using them. Number one, let's use a meta tag that tell us the kind of uh, the kind of text code that will be accepted in our program. So again, meta. Let's see. Let's stick with 3 for now. You got 3 meters for now. And this one, let's give it which type of character. This character function that we are going to use will allow us to make use of encoded function for our program to work properly, for our code to actually execute things appropriately. So we say character set. We need to call or invoke that particular function that allow us to use the standard character set. So let's say CHAR, which means character, SET as one word. And this now is considered attribute and it should have a value. Assignment. This is assignment element. Inside, we need to put this thing and put the value here. There are so many values, but the most popular one that you find on our website right now, you want to know the secret? It's called UTF-8. All right. Right now, I'm not going to show you the actual meaning of UTF-8, but you will know it in future video. Are you excited? So just write what I'm going to write. Make sure it is uppercase. 8 has something called halving between before the 8. And that's it. Congratulations. You are growing up slowly, slowly. Now, the next meta tag, we are going to define the type of devices that our program should work on smoothly. How are we going to do that? We will target their sizes, meaning their viewports. All right? And we will have to understand the width and height of these viewports and put some default value that's going to work with any device, any digital device that support HTML. All right, so we first start up with this is the this is number one attribute. Now name. What are we doing? We are dealing with so many value for this one attribute. The first one is viewport. So everything is going to be inside here. We will separate them with commas. Remember, this is the attribute, single attribute here, and so many values we are going to include. So the first value is viewport. This one is all lowercase. This is viewport. And this viewport should have its own value here. Then after this, you come again to another one and say content. And this content is another attribute. Obviously, it is actually this content that have more values, not this one. My bad, I guess I was wrong. And that's okay. Teacher go wrong sometimes. Now let's make this to use the um, estimated value for desktop and that of mobiles. Meaning that if the web page shrinks, depending on the device size, it's going to get adjusted. This is the main importance of this particular attribute and the values that I'm going to mention. So it is called device width. Now we're going to target width, right? And it's equals to device width. We are not putting any value here actually, but we will initialize setting fixed value that works generally. Halving here also. And then this is one value for this attribute. Uh, and let's come to the next one, which is how it's going to be like initially. That's the initial scaling we are now fixing. It's going to equals 1 point nothing. It's important to mention this though. So we copy all this. Cut. I mean, sorry. Lecturer makes mistakes sometimes. Then we paste it here. Now we are done with the next meta tag. So what do we do with the tail one? Well, since we are just doing basic thing, let's get rid of this tail one. It doesn't really matter, to be honest. So what do we do then? Let's change it to something else. Title. But are we gonna leave it like this? Not really. Title have opening and closing tag. So we can't leave it like that. Now we are almost done. This is where we are going to put the name of our website. What name you want to give yours? Go ahead, you are free. For me, I'll stick to it as the name of this document. Happy, right? So HAPPY, happy. I'm okay with this. Feel free to give yours whatever name you want, and it's totally up to you. No problem. So remember, after doing any single modification, save before opening the page again. But imagine this is the name I have right now, and that is the only thing that we're gonna see basically. Nothing else gonna happen here. Nothing changed actually. But you can see everything here now. If you open this up, you see everything that we just wrote. It was these things were we didn't have these things there before. From this thing here, now you can see all these things as you hover. You see them. You see them. Okay. At this point, we have uh, learned a lot. But honestly, it is wrong to write the code like this, like we did in the first line. It's always good to have this thing in something. For example, let's take it from here and put it right underneath this thing. But at least it should be inside of a tag. But for that, let's use P. This brings us to another thing. Whenever we want to write something that is not H1 up to H6, it is advisable to use P, which is paragraph tag. Uh, You don't necessarily have to write a complete paragraph when you are using paragraph tag. Like in our case, we are using the paragraph tag right now, but we are not actually writing paragraph. See there? Lecturer make mistakes sometimes. So this is how the paragraph tags look like. Then we can put our code here, our text, and save. Now this thing is gonna leave this place and jump somewhere here. You see? This is much better. Or you can put it wherever you want to. You can even bring it at the very last. Just call it from here and make sure it is not out of the body. That's all. And save. So let's say that you visit a lot of websites and you see the very last text at the bottom telling you not to do something or more recent updates. Those texts are at the very bottom and it's considered the footer. It's a special tag for it. So let's say if we happen to create a footer, we will mention it here, like using footer. And we can put this thing here. Actually, nothing's gonna change, but it's just a standard way, just in case you want to put a particular message at the very bottom. You should always use footer. All right. Okay, so this is just the basic of HTML, and I hope you understood something great about HTML and you being able to implement all these things. You can try to do similar stuff and change everything here on your own, and then when you get good at it, you can start the next video, because in the next video we are going to do something really interesting. Remember I said that we are doing HTML and CSS. In this one, we didn't use CSS, but we just use styles. But the next video is going to introduce CSS to you, how it works, and we will actually be doing some little nice and attractive project using just HTML and CSS. So I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.